All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 11th meeting of the Ames Community School District Board of Directors. I will call the meeting to order and entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Winfrey, seconded by Franzen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. And we will now, I'll read our purpose statement together. So if you would like to join us, it will be up on your screen, and it's also on the walls in the room here. The Ames Community School District commits to equity and access that empowers every individual to reach their full personal and educational potential. And I do just want to note at the start of the meeting here, we do have several folks who have signed up to speak remotely. And our public forum statement does require that we can only hear statements from residents of Ames, parents or guardians of students who attend Ames schools, or students. So if you are signed up and you do not live in Ames, we are not able to allow you to speak. But if you do have an Ames address and you want to put that on the form, we will keep that open for another 5 minutes. Okay, and our first item on the agenda is our public hearing of asbestos abatement for the former Ames High. And before opening the public hearing, I will go ahead and read the full statement on public comments. Residents of the district, students attending the district, parents or guardians of students attending the district, and district staff members may address the board about any topic relevant to the district, whether on the current agenda or not. Those who wish to speak must sign up at the beginning of the meeting. Speaker participation is limited to 3 minutes once per item. The views and opinions of citizens addressing the board do not necessarily reflect those of the board, district administration, or staff. Speakers are to remember that Iowa law prohibits the board from discussing specific employees, students, or their performance. Student speakers will state their name and school. Others will state their name and address. And with that, I will open our public hearing for the asbestos abatement for the former Ames High School. So if anyone would like to comment on that, you may come up to the front. Okay, and if we have anyone on Zoom who would like to comment, you may raise your hand. Okay, and with that, I will go ahead and close the public hearing, and we will move on to our discussion items. Our first discussion item tonight is a welcome for our new superintendent, Dr. Julius Lawson. So, welcome. Excited to have you here finally. It's felt like it's been a long time coming. So for those of you who have not met him, this is Dr. Julius Lawson. He will be joining us. He will be around and available. He does have a district email address now, julius.lawson@ames.k12.ia.us. So feel free to reach out to him.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Anyone else want to make any comments or anything I forgot?
Yay.
Okay, we will move on to our board committee updates, and our first committee update will be the policy committee.
We met last on June 22nd, and we'll discuss those policies in a little bit. Our next meeting is this Thursday, the 14th.
Great. Questions or comments on the policy committee update? And facilities committee, we have a couple of meetings, I think, for you to cover.
Yeah, I think the main takeaway, definitely take a look at the minutes as you have time, but the main takeaway is the high school is on schedule. We're still targeting the same opening dates and stuff, but due to continuing supply chain issues and labor shortages, there are a few areas that are expected they'll kind of be phased, like different parts of it might be phased in, like maybe the auditorium might have a few things that need to be installed late. Those are brought up, the auditorium, some of the CTE shops, and one of the music areas just have some minor things that will kind of come in later, but Jerry and Story Construction are communicating with the staff and everyone to make sure they're aware of how that'll be happening, and it won't have any impact on anything academic or opening. So hopefully next month when we talk, we'll have people, you know, in the building and going. So it'll be great.
That is super exciting. Can't wait to see it. Any other questions or comments for facilities committee? And do we have any other board committee updates that folks would like to make? Okay, then we will move on to our policies for discussion, and I'll turn it over to Director Winfrey.
Yes, but before we start, there's one policy that the policy committee wants to pull to re-examine, and that is 503.1, the student conduct policy. We're going to hold and save for us to look at some more language, but everything else, pretty much everything else that's in here are just updates based on IASB recommendations and some kind of cleaning up of the policy. There are a lot of things that maybe had a point, A and B that are just now all in one. So a little bit more streamlined and clarity. And then also some material, especially things that are rescinded, are either usually covered in another policy or were more appropriate for a student handbook or employee handbook, which is some of the things that staff are working on as well.
Director Winfrey, is that true for number 15.903.2B, community involvement in decision-making? I noted last month when we met, there was one similar in regards to student involvement in decision-making. And I think the rationale was that it was going to be covered in other policies. Is that the case here?
Yeah, so 903.2A and 2B are moved to 903.2. And that's part of the streamlining. And there's also some of these things will be covered in those employee handbooks too. Is that, Kristen, is that, okay, wanted to confirm, yeah.
Okay.
And 903.2 has already been approved?
Yeah, I think we did that in our last meeting.
Okay.
Yes,
Yep.
because I have that in the minutes from
Okay.
a while ago.
We've updated some of our policies to include new names. I am sorry that I've probably not noticed this before, but is it typical for our policies to mention specific office holders by name?
What do you mean by office holders?
Or I mean, holders of particular positions. For instance, the officer of equal opportunity, for instance, name them by name.
That's so that required by law, isn't that correct?
Yeah, where it's required by law to name the individual,
Gotcha,
we name
okay.
the individual. Where it's not required, we name the position.
Right, okay, thanks.
I had one question on policy 605.7. There's a lot of details, but one in particular I was looking at kind of from a little bit of some stuff that happened during COVID and also just an equity perspective is we have this aspect in there of district digital resources. So computers, things like that may be used for classwork and school related activities only. During COVID, we kind of talked about how allowing students to have their one-on-one devices and be able to use them for things beyond classwork allowed them, to have access to digital resources and be able to do things that maybe they wouldn't without those one-to-one devices. Is this meant to preclude that type of activity? I mean, can a student do things that aren't classwork with those devices?
That's the old policy.
Okay, so then there's a new one that changes it.
So it's, yes, you should have this one. I don't know.
605.7.
605.7, is that the one you're looking at?
Supporting links.
Yeah. There you
Okay,
go. There you go.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Nope, that
So-
answers it.
Solid point and been addressed.
Perfect. Good.
Anything else on the policies for discussion? And we do not have anyone sign up to speak under this discussion item, so we will move on to our teaching and learning update. And we'll have our review of summer training and turn it over to Dr. Hawkins.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
Everybody's doing really well tonight. Okay, so we thought that it would be appropriate and informative for us to share with you, the board, some of the training that we're providing district office staff, building level administrators, and some of our teachers over the summer. So just because the school year ends doesn't mean that the learning ends for our adults. And so I've prepared for you a slideshow that just kind of walks through the vast majority. I think there may be some curriculum work that isn't included on a slide, but it's similar to the other curriculum work. But this is the vast majority of training and work that's happening with us. And what I'm going to do is name the work and kind of go through the desired outcomes of that work. If you have questions, you're welcome to ask at any time. Okay. So the first training that is described in this is Essa Training. It's the federal accountability for student performance. It's being provided primarily to our building administrators, instructional coaches, and teachers, as well as the directors here. And the outcomes are to review building level student achievement data, to have buildings self-assess the current status of their MTSS. That is the multi-tiered system of supports that includes both initial direct instruction as well as intervention for academics and behavior. So we're asking them to look at their data and then to self-assess the health of their MTSS system around 5 key areas. You can see them there: leadership, assessment and database decision-making, universal instruction, intervention, and infrastructure. Then to prioritize based on that self-assessment, and I should say there's a tool that the state has provided us that guides that self-assessment process. So as teams of teachers and instructional coaches, administrators work through that tool, they're going to be able to see areas of their MTSS system that would be highest leverage for them to focus on in a goal writing and action planning process by which they can improve instruction and intervention for kids. That's what that training is all about. Next is diversity, equity, and inclusion training for our building administrators. The outcomes are to continue to build their capacity and common understanding of our administrative team around diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as to prepare building leaders for the learning that they will be delivering to staff next year during monthly professional development sessions. There's also been work and will continue to be work around what we're calling the district data cycle. Again, that's directors and building administrators included. And the outcome of that is to establish the process and routine for regular data collection, analysis, and response. And so that will involve lots of different departments within district office working with buildings on a routine basis to collect, analyze, and then respond to building level data. We're just establishing some protocols and processes around that. Next is been some training that was provided by the professional Danielson trainer around the Danielson framework for teaching. It was provided to district admin, building admin, and instructional coaches, and the outcomes that are desired from that training are to establish some common understanding and processes for collecting data from classroom observations to connect that data to the Danielson components or those rubrics of teacher performance, to begin the process of creating inter-rater reliability in how we observe and what we observe in classrooms, and to establish a common understanding of the process and timeline for implementation of that instructional framework. So this is really the stages of the instructional framework process where we're getting folks beyond acquainted with the rubrics, but we're starting to get them acquainted with observation techniques and processes to develop inter-rater reliability. SIOP Train the Trainer, again, that's being primarily provided to our instructional coaches. And again, the outcome there is to increase our internal capacity to support teachers' implementation of SIOP training during the 2022-23 school year. As you may recall, SIOP is one of the research-based strategies that we selected to use ESSER funds in order to address learning loss needs. So this is just building capacity in our instructional coaches to help ensure that these strategies play out in classrooms. They align really nicely, by the way, with the content of the Danielson framework as well. The next training to keep you updated on is Achieve training. This is required by the state, being provided by Heartland AEA to our building administrators. The outcomes are to review the understanding of special education regulations and procedures and to ensure compliance with IDEIA. So this Achieve is the new software that we'll be using to house our IEPs. And so this is training to make sure building administrators understand that software and their roles of ensuring that IEP students' needs are being met. All right, our next training is, we've taken a team of teachers to the National Council of Supervisors of Mathematics. Again, this is leaders from the district, building level administrators, and teacher leaders. This is the beginning process for setting the stage for math curriculum review. We're going to begin, the outcomes are to begin to create a vision for mathematics instruction and to engage in some objectives of this National Council of Supervisors, which includes focusing on creating equitable mathematics classrooms and structures, advocate for equitable practices in mathematics teaching, challenge unproductive beliefs through self-reflection and coaching conversations, and enhance coaching skills and grow as a professional through networking. Again, this is laying the groundwork for an equity-based approach to our math curriculum review. And the last training that I want to talk with you about, and again, I'm happy to answer questions, is the Computer Science Teacher Association training. You can see we brought lots and lots of teachers to this conference in order to learn about best practices in computer science instruction and to learn about new resources that will support us in implementing the Iowa Computer Science Standards. Director Miller actually just returned from that conference. So those are beyond a good sampling of the various trainings that we are doing this summer to make sure that we're ready to hit the ground running, both from curriculum review, from core instruction to intervention to systemic improvement through our instructional framework. Is there any questions that I can answer for you?
Dr. Hawkins, could you expand a little bit on under the math section? Challenge unproductive beliefs through self-reflection and coaching conversations. I've never heard of that in a math curriculum. Is that to challenge beliefs that someone doesn't believe they can do math or that certain students can't do math?
The latter. The latter, right? So we want to have a growth mindset that all students can be successful. And if we believe that math or particular types of math are only for certain students, that would be an unproductive mindset. Correct me if I'm wrong in any way, shape, or form.
I think it's a both and. So one of the big takeaways was, we send messages sometimes when we say we're not math people. Like people will say, oh, I'm not a math person, right? And who says that? It matters, right? When you're thinking about kids. And if you think about people you've heard say they're math people or they're not math people, what identities do they hold? What models do we have? So my favorite line from the conference was if they could one of the presenters said, if they could wave a magic wand and take care of one thing that has a lot to do with stereotype threats, they would say, everybody should stop saying they're not a math person. Everyone is a math person. So I liked that. I thought it was good.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Which of these have been done already? So like some have already
Sure.
happened and some are forthcoming. Just out of
Yeah,
curiosity.
great. So most of the things that have been done are ongoing, right? So Essa Training has occurred already. There's a plan. I've asked building principals to have their goals for this and action steps to me by August 1, and then there will be reoccurring meetings. The initial, we have our next diversity, equity, inclusion training tomorrow. So that's kind of an ongoing schedule, but so some have occurred and others are ongoing. The district data cycle, we've had one meeting so far to outline the concept, and then we're going to come back. Our building administrators began digging into some behavior data as a way to exemplify the processes, and we're going to come back to that. As you heard Aaron say, the science conference, the math conference and the computer science conference, we've already taken teachers to those, but there will be significant work following up from that.
The computer science conference is this coming weekend.
Oh, my apologies.
No
Thank
worries.
you. I appreciate
Yes.
you correcting me. Thank you. The Danielson framework for teaching, that trainer has already been here, and we have initially rolled out an implementation plan to our administrators, but we'll have lots of follow-up work to build capacity over this year with that framework, as well as other key stakeholder groups to roll out the implementation plan too. And Aaron, can you answer where PSYOP is at in the process?
Yeah, the coaches have gone and have been certified as train the trainer. So our partnership with Pearson is done, and now we'll have our own internal folks who are able to continue the training.
And Deanie, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Achieve training has already occurred in one round and there's another one planned for later on this fall. Is that correct?
Administrators haven't yet.
So so there was teachers in the spring and administrators in the fall. Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions on the teaching and learning update? All
Great,
right.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Hawkins.
You're welcome.
And we did not have anyone sign up to speak under the teaching and learning update, so I will go ahead and open our public forum. I'm not going to read our statement on public comments again, but just to reiterate, if you were hoping to speak, but you do not live in Ames or have students in our district or employed by the district, you can also email your comments to us as well. So please do email your statements to us if you're not able to speak tonight. Okay. First person signed up to speak is Andrew Hoiberg. So you can come on up to the microphone here. No, this one.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today and speak. What I'm here today to discuss is the potential renaming of the new auditorium at the new high school after Wayne Hanson, who was the theater director for 33 years at Ames High. And what I wanted to talk about today was, just some of the qualities that he had, just so those of you that didn't have a chance to know him can kind of appreciate a little bit of what he meant to a lot of students at Ames High. And, he had a whole laundry list of things that he was great for. He had a good sense of humor. He's very compassionate with all kinds of different groups of students at Ames High. And he was very relatable to everybody that interacted with him. And, my own personal story with him is a little bit different because I wasn't really a theater person, so to speak, leading into high school. And I decided to, take a chance and apply for go out for a play my senior year, and he ended up casting me in the lead role, which was very strange. And I think a lot of people were kind of surprised by that. So who's this jock that came in here and gets to be in the play here at the lead role? But the point is, he took a chance on me, and he didn't have any business doing that in the eyes of a lot of people, but we had a very successful rollout of the play. And, that year of my life at Ames High was my senior year. I shifted my focus away from what I had been doing, and really Wayne made it the most enjoyable year of my high school career at Ames High. And so, his legacy lives on through all the relationships and mentoring and, everything that he interacted with all the students at Ames High. And, whether you were, it didn't matter if you had a clique or you were this or that or whatever things students get associated with in high school, Wayne was there to welcome anybody with open arms. And he was, he dedicated his life to that job. And, I think on behalf of myself and certainly a whole big group that I know a lot of you have been in communication with trying to get this onto the agenda, I speak for all of us saying that we would, feel that it would be a true honor to him and a true honor to all the students' lives that he enriched, and to have his name on that auditorium. So thanks so much for considering, and appreciate the time.
Thank you, Andrew. And next we have Monique Benkin.
Good evening. My name is Monique Benkin, and I live at 4810 Dover Drive. I am speaking tonight on behalf of the Ames Youth and School Action Team, also known as ASAT. ASAT is a nonpartisan group of concerned citizens whose intention is to shine light on racial and ethnic disparities that exist throughout the Ames Community School District. Our goal is to improve educational opportunities for children of color and other marginalized groups. We are speaking tonight for two reasons. First, we would like to welcome Dr. Lawson to the district. We're excited for your vision for our children's education and look forward to partnering with you to make the promise of a world-class Ames education a reality for all students in our district. Second, we'd like to take this moment to encourage you to fill the vacant Director of Equity position. As you may know, the Director of Equity position was created a few short years ago in response to repeated community requests that the district begin to make structured and systematic progress on reaching its equity goals. Additionally, the result of the 2018 equity audit conducted by a multidisciplinary committee of board members, district personnel, and community members recommended the creation of this position. And finally, the results of the district-owned equity audits have called for district-level leadership and responsibility for leading this work in the district. ASAT was nervous when we heard of Dr. Jones's departure because rumors immediately began swirling that his position would not be refilled. ASAT would like the superintendent, board, and entire community to know that we believe this would be a catastrophic and easily avoidable mistake. As a community, we have made great strides in bringing educational equity issues to the forefront of this district. We understand that sometimes those conversations have been uncomfortable, but we cannot settle back into ignoring the glaring data-supported inequities that plague the education of our district's Black and brown children for comfort to some or as a cost-saving measure. Respectfully, we ask the district to publicly state its intentions with respect to the Director of Equity position pursuant to ACSD policy number 900 that was just discussed today with respect to, quote, informing the school district community of the school district's goals, objectives, achievements, and needs. ASAP believes that making a public statement about the district's intention with regard to this high-profile position will assure our community that the district's focus on providing an equitable education for all students is still a priority as we begin the new district leadership under Dr. Lawson. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Monique. Judy Brown?
Not used to this kind of forum, so Sabrina and I have been in a play before together. Judy Brink Brown, 5423 Tennessee Street, class of 74. I was thespian president my senior year at Ames High School, 1973 to 74. Act well your part. They're all the honor lies. This is the motto of the International Thespian Society and the expressed backbone of the theater department under Wayne Hank Hansen. Thespians were expected to welcome new students into the various extracurricular dramatic activities. Many of these students were not necessarily involved in sports, and therefore Hank created a fabulous alternative activity for self-expression, speech, and theater. Hank's classes and theatrical productions investigated all aspects of theater arts, from costume design, budgeting, set design, and construction, painting, makeup, and props construction. He taught us how to analyze a script, how to give an effective speech, project lines, and stand in the spotlight with confidence. Hank could be the teacher wearing the sport coat, tie, and slacks for speech, or the artistic play director in a flannel shirt and overalls. Hank created memories and developed skills with his students that would guide them for the rest of their lives, not only in theater, but in their continued education and future jobs. He was a teacher, a mentor, and a friend. I can still see Hank's face chuckling and joking with us while working on a set of or boisterously singing arias from his favorite opera. When you arrived at rehearsals or set construction sessions, time was never wasted. Fun was created along with the dedication to the success of each production. We all love seeing his big grin flashing from the back row of the auditorium or classroom, giving the approval of job well done. All the thespians at Ames High wanted that recognition from Hank. After Ames High until today, I have been an active member and participant of the Ames Community Theater. I have been a board member, past president, have performed in many productions, served in every backstage area, and have produced many of the actors' shows over the years. Working with people of all ages, personalities, and professions to put on a show had its roots with Hank and Ames High School. All those skills definitely improved my job performance over the years with ISU Press and Ortho 2. My two grown daughters, Monica Stephen Chambers and Eva Stevens Johnson, grew up around the Ames Community Theater and had Hank for speech class. I wish that my 7 grandchildren had the opportunity of having Mr. Hansen as a teacher, but their interest in theater will live on through me. Wayne Hank Hansen changed the lives of so many of the students over the years. Although he was a bit unconventional, he loved his job and his students and created an atmosphere of acceptance and creativity that could not be replaced. Although he was a private person, I think he would be incredibly honored to have the new Ames High Auditorium named in his honor. No one deserves it more than Hank. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. All right, and that is everyone that we had signed up. So again, if you were signed up from out of state, please do email us with your comments. And with that, I will close our public forum and move on to our consent agenda, and I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval of consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved by Franzen, seconded by Winfrey. Superintendent Lawson, gifts to the district.
Yes. So we'd like to thank the following donors for their very generous donations to the district. First, we have Story County Human Services for the benefit of Hope Pantry. Next, we have Iowa State University Athletics and the College Football Playoffs Foundation for the benefit of Fellows Elementary. We have Araya Sharma, for the benefit of Fellows as well, and Ramona Van Veller for the benefit of Fellows Elementary.
Thank you. Okay, it was moved by Franzen, seconded by Winfrey to accept the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Moving on to our action items, we will begin with our policies for action.
I move the board approve the policies as presented.
Second.
Moved by Winfrey, seconded by Franzen. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. The next item is the former Ames High School asbestos abatement.
I move the board approve the board award the contract asbestos abatement at the former Ames High School building to Environmental Property Solutions in the amount of $127,240.
Second.
Moved by Franzen, seconded by Beerbaum. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. New Ames High School construction project change orders.
I move the board approve the change orders for the new Ames High School construction project as presented.
Second.
Moved by Beerbaum, seconded by Limkaitis. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Board and staff items. We will begin with items from the board. I do not have any requests for staff this evening. Nothing I missed, right? Okay. Does anyone else have an item from the board? Okay. Items from the superintendent.
I don't have anything.
Okay. And moving on to our board planning calendar. Eric, if you can pull that one up for me. Thank you. So we do have our next meeting on July 25th with a work session scheduled that evening as well. And then it will already be August, which is crazy. So, any questions or comments on the board planning calendar? Okay, we will take maybe a 3-minute recess and get our tables moved around, and we'll move into our work session. We will be ending our live broadcast at this time. Thanks for joining us.